You could come down this area, this road right here behind me, and you could see chunks of tar just left along the road.
We're talking at least 210,000 gallons.
Yes.
Translates to 5,000 barrels.
A lot of the pipelines are carrying this bitumen, and it needs to be diluted.
We've got benzene, cyclohexene.
That's where the chemicals come in.
Whatever it was, I was getting sicker and sicker.
It's an 850-mile long pipeline.
You're talking about an oil pipeline put into the ground when Harry Truman was President of the United States.
ExxonMobil now owns this pipeline.
That's the whole line of the Pegasus.
And the whole thing has been shut down since this rupture.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that we're just not prepared for this type of catastrophe.
There's a lot of hurt here.
We haven't had any help. That's what really, excuse my language, pisses me off.
This was ground zero for the rupture of the Pegasus pipeline that happened on March 29th.
Oil was running down this street right here, and so that's why there were two homes behind that barrier that Exxon has bought and decided to raise because they could not be de-oiled. 22 families were evacuated. As I understand it, some of those families have moved back in. Clearly, there are a lot of for sale signs in the neighborhood.
Yes.
People don't want to live here anymore. And I know that Exxon has made some sort of an arrangement.
They'll pre-appraise their homes, and after 120 days of being on the market and no hits, and then Exxon will come in and talk about buying your home from you.
But I don't know what I'm going to do. If this turns into rental property and it goes downhill, I'm gone. And I'm 77 years old. It's not exactly easy for me to move.
That man, you could tell, was very upset.
Distraught, yeah.
Right. He said this was going to be our final nesting place.
And that was what a lot of families did here.
These people had no idea that there was an oil pipeline literally in their own backyard.
The soil is dark black.
So, Genevieve, you became a citizen advocate because you were worried about the health of people. You were worried about the health of the lake that you grew up on.
Your nose would burn, your eyes would burn, you would instantly get dizzy, nauseous. And that are some of the effects that still the residents are going through to this day.
Headaches, throwing up, diarrhea, blurred vision. So I went to my doctor several different times. He said, I do not want you to go back to your house.
We had a conversation with Ann Jarrell. She lives over on this Snugs Circle, which is adjacent to the Northwood subdivision where the 22 homes were evacuated. They were not even told that they should voluntarily evacuate. They were just kind of left behind.
I'm 300 yards from the rupture site. I have a 3-month-old baby laying in my home.
Right.
24/7 breathing this stuff in. My grandson, there he is.
There's a little one.
That is him taking his inhaler. He has to have it once in the morning and once at night. And you can tell he does not like it.
Okay. He was not using an inhaler.
No, he was not using
March
it.
29th.
Everybody knows there's 22 houses that were evacuated. Well, you know what? We were not evacuated, so we've been sitting here breathing it in.
This just speaks to the issue with these oil spills. People assume, oh, the authorities are going to help us.
Right.
We're going to be taken care of, but there is no blueprint to follow.
Yes, there needs to be a plan put in place. What do you do if something happens? You need to plan it before it happens.
Well, Ann moved here 3 years ago.
Right, and this was her dream house.
It's a nice little house inside.
She can't live here anymore. What would you like to see happen? I mean, here you're...
Well, it's too late for anything to happen. It's too late for us. I mean, it's too late. We want them to get this mess cleaned up and get it cleaned up right.
There are concentric rings that get tighter and tighter down to ground zero. But just because you're in the second ring or the third ring of impact doesn't mean that you are not impacted. They have been.
We're here with the Attorney General of Arkansas. He's the one who can wield a hammer against Exxon. The people feel somewhat helpless to do that. The victims of the spill, he's the guy who has the power of a lawsuit.
It's been very frustrating. Arkansas did not anticipate this kind of environmental disaster. We've certainly never experienced this kind of environmental disaster. And I've been trying to work with the Arkansas Department of Health. Admittedly, this is somewhat outside of their normal mission. I know that there are citizens who feel like they've been well taken care of and feel like they have been treated with dignity and respect and concern from day one.
Right there is where it hit, where that truck's at.
There's also a lot of citizens who don't feel that way.
If you speak out, you're speaking up against a multi-billion-dollar company.
We had a substantial release. It did significant damage to water, air, and soil. We had state hazardous waste laws that were violated.
I'm standing on top of the dam.
Yeah.
These are all dead fish.
Okay.
7 or 8 dead fish is not dead fish. When you have hundreds or thousands, then you know you've got something causing those fish to die.
There are times that you're motoring up here and you might hit one of those rocks or whatever. This is the pipeline. I don't know if this pipeline is 2 feet underneath those rocks. I don't know if it's 5 feet. I don't know if it's 20 feet. I have no idea.
All of our emergency response had been based on an oil product that primarily floats. 400,000 people depend on this drinking water supply, and we want assurances and tests and proof that the situations that led to the Mayflower rupture aren't present in the Maumelle watershed.